Hi everyone, Velvet here, and I have some stories for you today. But before we get started, can you please do me a huge favor and like, comment, and subscribe? It'll really help the channel out, and it'll get you more videos like this every day. Let's get started. Our first one comes from Far Kaleidoscope 3040. Am I the beehole for telling my mom I'll do what she and her husband wants if it's so important to her, but she needs to understand this is in no way for me? I lost my dad when I was 6 to a heart attack. He was young, but he had a bad heart and died in his sleep when he was 29. My mom remarried a couple of years later. She and her husband, my stepdad, met 7 months after my dad's death. They started dating after knowing each other for a few months. Then they got married. I should mention that they met through a grief support group. My mom's husband lost a child to stillbirth, and his relationship fell apart. My mom and her husband wanted me to look at him as another father in my life. I never saw him that way, not even when he and my mom had my half-brothers together. I never hated my mom's husband. I go through a lot of mixed feelings about him. Sometimes I like him because he's a good husband to my mom, and a good dad to my half-brothers. Sometimes I dislike him for not respecting that I want to get along, but I do not want a fatherly relationship with him. I have never loved him. He has never gotten to be someone I consider actually important to me. I think because throughout the negative, he's always outweighed the positive. What doesn't help is he'll often tell me he loves me, but goes into how he lost his bio daughter, and that makes him love me more. And then, he also brings up losing my bio dad. Means I need someone else to fill that role. He told me a young child who loses a parent cannot decide they never get a new one. They need to do their best to make the relationship as close to the original as one can possibly do. I have asked him if it isn't enough to just be friendly and on good terms. My mom asked me before why I need to show more loyalty to my dad than to her and her husband, and why I can't let him in enough to be that second dad so everyone else can be happy. She told me she knows I would be happier if I had another person filling the role that dad left behind. She said it doesn't mean he replaces dad, but it means I also have a dad here. Now that I'm in my 20s and I'm engaged to be married, I asked my mom if she would walk me down the aisle at my wedding, and she freaked out and told me I needed to ask my stepdad. She told me that asking her would crush him. Of course, he walks in and she's still being very loud and realizes what's going on, and he told me it would mean the world to him to fill the father of the bride role and do both parts, walking me down the aisle and performing a father/daughter dance at the wedding. My mom pestered me about it a few days afterwards, so I asked if we could meet up. And I told her I'll give her what she wants, but I need her to understand. This is not for me, it's not what I want, it's not making me happy. And it will not change how I feel about her husband, no matter how much she wants it to. But I told her if it's that important, I will do it. She called me manipulative for spewing all of that before formally agreeing, and told me I had managed to shite on doing a good thing. Am I the beehole? Hi, OP. In this one, I'm going to say nobody's the beehole. Well, maybe your mom a little bit for that little blow up at the end, telling her child that she's manipulative. I don't think you're that. You told her what's up, and she could have just said, oh, okay, never mind. I'm not going to say your stepdad is bad either, because it sounds like he's not being a jerk to you. Like you said, you guys get along, but you don't want him as a father figure, which is fair. You have a dad. I don't know why. Maybe because I'm on the outside looking in. But why do step parents do this? Why do they try to crowbar themselves into having a relationship with a child who's lost their bio parent? Why not just be cool and just do what the OP says and just have a good relationship, and you don't have to be, their dad? As for the wedding OP, I don't know how awkward it'd be to tell her never mind, because I would. It's your wedding and you should be happy and excited to be at your wedding. So if you don't want your stepdad, no, I'm gonna call him stepdad. If you don't want your stepdad to walk you, and don't, and that sucks. That I mean, I get it. You want your mom to walk you because she's your biological parent, but it sounds like she'd probably be out too. Don't get a friend or somebody to walk you, or someone else's dad. Oh, probably have a lot of friends with a cool dad. But yeah, to wrap that all up, it's your wedding. You should be happy at your wedding. I would, kindly tell them never mind. And if they don't come, that sucks, but they don't come. And our next one comes from Elegant Solitude. Am I the beehole for not accepting and returning the birthday present my half-sister gave my son? My 27-year-old female parents got divorced when my brother and I were around 6 because he had a mistress, and another child. Our half-sister, a 25-year-old female. On the day my parents finalized the divorce and my dad received full custody, both she and her mom came to live with us. Suffice to say, we didn't like either of them. When she was a child, she didn't understand why we didn't want to spend time together, and she would complain to our dad about us, then we'd get punished. This added to our hatred. Growing up, she was his precious child, and he would celebrate her birthdays and her milestones while ignoring ours. He had catered to her wants and desires, but never bothered to learn about ours. Any of her wrongdoings would easily be forgiven, but my brother and I made any mistakes, like dropping the TV remote, he'd severely berate us. Despite belonging to a wealthy family, my brother and I struggled financially, and we couldn't even apply for scholarships. After all of these and more, when we became mature enough, we moved away and had no contact with any of them. I thought that we'd never meet again. Or so I thought. Unfortunately, the universe played me a fool, and I met her at my in-laws' family dinner. She was currently dating my husband's brother, and he brought her over to introduce her to the family for the first time. I was in disbelief, and I wanted to ignore her, but she saw me and happily had a reunion with me, and she told them that we're friends. Fast forward to present day. They're now engaged. I have a 1-year-old son, and except for my husband and his brother, no one from their family knows that we're half-sisters. Recently, we celebrated our son's birthday, and we held a small party with just our friends and family. Brother-in-law came to the party, she didn't, but when we were going through the presents my son received, I saw a gift with her name on it. It was addressed as Aunt Blank to my son's name, and it made me feel uncomfortable. I told my husband I'd return it, and I don't want anything from her in my son's life. He was reluctant, but supported me, so I did. Later, when she received the return package, she called me and asked me why. I told her my reasons. She said that I was being immature by denying a gift meant for someone else, and she gave it to him as an uncle's fiance. While my husband agrees that I shouldn't have returned the gift and given it to Goodwill, I haven't done anything wrong, but according to my brother, I'm being a beehole to someone who has respected my wishes and remained distant. Am I the beehole for returning her present? Okay, OP, I get where you're coming from, because she received all that, praise and could do no wrong. Yeah, it's easy to harbor resentment for someone like that who's getting better treatment than you from the same person. I understand not wanting to have the gift in your house. I've done that. I've thrown away stuff from people I'm not cool with, and I don't want that type of. I don't believe in mystical stuff, but I don't want that type of juju in the house. I guess that's what I'd call it. Returning it probably wasn't the good way to do it. It's kind of a little fu to her. I personally would have sold it, or I would have looked up to where she bought it, or Walmart or whatever, and then taken it back and gotten the money for it, and then gave the money to, or put it towards something for my son. He's too young right now to have the money. That's the way I would have done it. So you're not the beehole. You're slightly a hole maybe for the return part. But yeah, overall, not a beehole. Our next one comes from Dangerous Toe 3937. Am I the beehole for telling my sister she doesn't get to bully me into doing what she wants? My sister is 23, and I'm a 20-year-old female. We're both adopted, but we do share the same bio parents as well. My sister and I were both adopted as infants. She was placed at birth, and my parents adopted her. When they learned our birth parents were expecting another kid they wanted to place for adoption, they were willing to adopt me as well. My birth parents decided not to have any contact with us, and to leave us no letter or anything. This is something I've always been fine with. I do not consider my birth parents my real parents, or even people I need to have contact with. My sister has always longed to know more about our birth family, the reason we were both placed for adoption, especially when we're full siblings and our birth parents were still together 3 years after placing her. Over the years, she's talked about them and asked our parents what they know about them. Our parents don't know much but promise to help us find answers when we are old enough if we wanted that. My sister always had this dream that we'd do a family birth search together. However, I never wanted to get involved in that. Now I'm expecting a baby, and my sister has decided it's the time. She said my son could have 2 more grandparents if we do this. I told her I did not want to join her on our search, and I would not get involved. She told me this is something we both need to do. and need to do it for my son and for all the future kids so they know where they came from and who their family is. I told her those people are not my family. I told her my family are the people we grew up with. Our parents intervened twice. They told my sister that this is a personal thing, and it's important to respect each other's viewpoints and wishes. The second time, they told her they would help her search, but she needs to leave me out of it unless I change my mind. My sister tried to get my husband on her side, and he told her to drop the topic, so she went back to telling me we were doing it, and someone is about to become a mom. I should do it, and she's effing sick of me digging in my heels. She told me a good mom would do this. Hearing that is what made me say she can't bully me into doing what she wants. She was hurt that I accused her of bullying, and told me I didn't need to be so much about all of this. My husband and parents think what I said was fair, but I still feel so bad. My sister really took my words hard. Am I the beehole? No, OP, you're not the beehole, and it sounds like the people who adopted you are really awesome. Sound, willing to take in two kids, and they are able to step in and assess the situation and tell your sister, hey, you're overstepping your boundaries. You want to do this, that's cool, but she doesn't want to. You need to respect her wishes. Which I agree with them. She needs to respect your wishes and back off. And I completely agree with you, OP. Those people, the ones who raised you, that's your parents. That's your family. The other ones just made you and wanted nothing to do with you. And it's doubly worse that they put your sister up and then put you up, so they absolutely didn't want to have anything to do with you. That's what I think. I don't know their situation, but that's what I'm, that's what I'm thinking from hearing the story, reading the story. I don't think what you said was harsh. And yeah, she is kind of strong-arming you and forcing you to do something that you don't want to do and have no interest in doing. If she wants to do it, do it. But yeah, she shouldn't be dragging you along and trying to guilt you into doing it. Also, does she really think that whole extra set of grandparents thing is going to happen? Those people gave you both up. You think they're going to want to have anything to do with you? You think they're going to welcome you with open arms and say, let's be a family again? They're probably going to be like, oh God, this thing that I gave up has come back to bite me in the butt now that they're old enough to hunt me down. Or hunt us down. Probably me. They probably didn't stick together. Oh, looking down in the comments, Gratian says, so she doesn't understand that strong-arming is a form of bullying. She's a 100% bullying you. Well, 1000% bullying you. And is now trying to play the victim now that you call her out on it. Don't back down. Your feelings matter and are valid. Your family is the people who raised you. Stick to your truth and live your best life, not the beehole. Yeah, I agree with all that. Sounds good. And our next one comes from number one Cali fan. Am I the beehole for using guilty woman tears and ruining my fiance's relationship with his family? I, a 24-year-old female, am getting married to the love of my life, Mark, a 27-year-old male. It's a fake name. His brother James, a 23-year-old male, also a fake name, has had a crush on me since high school. I never liked him, because he was really creepy. I put up with him during family dinners and things like that. James is a photographer, and he carries around his camera all the time. Mark and his family and I do a beach birthday party for his cousin. I just want to point out that I'm kinda curvy in anything I wear, so Mark and I went to the water, and James followed behind us. He also had his camera with him. I thought it was creepy. Because I have been harassed by him enough, I asked Mark if we could get out of the water, and he says yeah. As I was walking to my beach chair, I heard the click of the camera go off. I turn around, and James is giddily staring at the camera. I was really fed up, and I just started crying. It was kind of embarrassing, but I was high in emotions. I screamed at James for a while and grabbed my sundress and put it on. I went to the car and sat there for a while before Mark came and sat in the car with me. We went back home. Our phones were blowing up with a bunch of text messages from Mark's family. We had to block some and invite others. I feel like we're better ways to handle the situation rather than ruin Mark's cousin's party, but I don't know. Am I the beehole? Edit. I also need to include examples of James being creepy. So, in high school, he got suspended from school because he snuck in the girls' locker room. He would harass me over text. A lot after I rejected him, and he makes sexual comments / jokes about me when no one is around. Also, the whole harassment thing kinda stopped when Mark and I got engaged, but at the beach party, it started up again. OP, you are not the beehole. The harasser is the beehole. Did you tell your oh, of course your fiance knows. I'm surprised your fiance didn't, deck him in the at the beach and let him float out to sea and make him erase his camera. What a freaking ghoul. Honestly, OP, this is probably the best thing that happened to you. You can cut him out, cut all the crappy family members who are okay with his nonsense out, and have a good life with your fiance that you love. Also, what is this, an 80s comedy? He's sneaking in the girl's locker room? Why has no one handled him and nipped this crap in the bud? Of course he was going to grow up to be this way if no one showed him how to, not be a, a dumb arse. Jeez. I took a look in the comments and I agree with Philip J. Fry 3000. Let me say this now. You didn't ruin anything. His brother perving on you ruined the party. You and Mark simply removed yourselves from an uncomfortable situation, not the beehole. I agree with Philip. You wrote 100% not the beehole. And our final one comes from Hopeful Ad 1737. Am I the beehole for telling my stepdaughter's bio dad? This is why I'm her real dad. I'm a 39-year-old male, and I've known my wife for 10 years now, married for 7. When I met her, she had a 3-year-old daughter, now age 13. I've always made it a point to treat her as I would my own kid, and we're becoming close pretty quickly. When she was around 4, she even started calling me daddy. Her biological dad comes in and out of my stepdaughter's life. She calls us both dad, but she's usually around home with my wife and refers to him as his first name. Well, last night she was visiting with her bio dad and got a text from my daughter wondering if I could pick her up. Well, I got there and she was sitting outside with her bio dad holding her arm. She came over to my car and told me she was messing around with a skateboard and fell on her arm. Her arm was bruised, swollen, and hard for her to move. I asked her bio dad why he didn't call my wife. He said, I don't think it's that bad. She's just being dramatic. My stepdaughter just looked at me and said, Dad, can we please go? I'm in a lot of pain. And as she was getting in the car, I told her bio dad, see, this is why I'm her real dad, not you. I actually care for her and her well-being. Later that night, my wife got an angry text from her bio dad calling me a beehole, and my wife kinda agrees that I was being a beehole at that moment. Daughter actually did break her arm, but her bio dad wasn't doing anything about it. I'm the one who was in the ER with her until 1 a.m. Also, I would like to add, I don't call her my stepdaughter. Instead, I call her my daughter, just for the sake of the post. I figured it would be easier. Hi, OP. Obviously not the beehole. The bio dad is the beehole. Child broke her arm, and he's like, she's fine. So yeah, he's 100% the beehole. I'm gonna give your wife a little sprinkle of beehole for forever trying to stick up for that prick. Because that's what he is. The child's broken her arm and he's doing nothing. If I were you and your wife, I would get full custody because he can't be trusted with your child. With her child. Yeah, it's your child too. You're a better dad to her than he is. Looking down the comments, OP adds, we learn how long his daughter, because yeah, you know what? That's his daughter. His daughter was sitting there with a broken arm. She told me around 2 hours until the pain became intolerable. It was clearly not okay. Like I said, it was bruised and swollen and hard for her to move. Yeah, you're a better father. You weren't even being like pricky about it. You were just stating a fact, OP. So no, again, you are not the beehole. And like I said, try to get full custody and keep that little girl safe because it sounds like her bio dad is a real freaking prick. Ugh. Thank you so much for staying with me to the end of this video. Can you please do what I said in the beginning and like, comment, and subscribe? It will really help the channel out and it'll get you more videos like this every day. Velvet out.